Welcome to episode 5 of Curious Conversations with our man Dale Burke. He has just told us that he's not actually listened to any of our podcasts yet.
No, come on, I've listened. The first 10 minutes.
Dale is one of the leaders within the gym that we work out of, at Strength in Numbers. He's taught us a lot since we both joined here, and we want to get to know his story a little bit more and share it, because we know little parts of it, but we want to dive a little bit deeper into them. Firstly, we want to go over your kind of personal journey. You spoke to us last week in a little bit of detail, but we want to go a wee bit deeper into your personal journey over the last 10 years. So you've went from joiner to now gym owner, and you've had quite a lot of steps in between there. We want to get to know you from the start of your working journey of a joiner. When did you start? When did you start joinery, and when did you get into the fitness industry?
Right, okay, God, hopefully this is going to be a long podcast. It's going to be a long podcast. Well, so starting joinery came straight out of school. It was like, I think I'd done 5th year. Me being in school was a long time ago. So came out of school 5th year, straight into an apprenticeship working for City Building, which was kind of the council. And then it was just a 4 years apprenticeship there. And then I qualified as a full-time tradesman at the age of, I think it was 21. So 21, and I was a full-time tradesman qualified. So I was pretty buzzing with that. And again, it's like probably the youngest you can be before you actually get your time served. So, but I was buzzing. Like, I absolutely loved like joinery at the start. Like, it's definitely always something that I wanted to do. I loved kind of like being on the tools, like the manual labour side of things, being quite active and physical, and like actually using my hands to make stuff was always something that was quite cool to me, like fitting kitchens and building houses, fitting floors and stuff like that. So and then I suppose like the next step after that was just the next few years of just learning my craft really, and trying to perfect that, and from a joinery standpoint, doing homers, all that sort of stuff. And then, like normal circumstances in life as a young man does, you kind of start to figure yourself out a wee bit. You start to ask questions a little bit on why you feel certain ways, and you have other things like girlfriends and heartbreak and going out and getting mad with it all the time and all that sort of stuff, and partying a wee bit, probably a little bit too much. And then we're going to go like full on, like full depth every step of the way here.
First off, I want to know that step from joinery into the fitness industry, and why you kind of made that turn.
Cool. So I think like a lot of people, it came from a pain point, I suppose. I started, like, I was playing football at the time, and I think I started training when I was probably about 21, 22, so not long after I qualified as a like got my actual papers as a fully qualified joiner. I started actually training, and like any young man, it was more about, right, I want to be a little bit stronger, I want to look a little bit better, and started kind of like doing it for football really at the start. I was like, right, okay, I'm going to train, because I was playing against bigger guys, and I was like, right, I'm an absolute wet wipe here and built outside a fiver, so I need to get myself to the gym. And then I started training, started seeing results quite quickly, like anybody who into new to training generally does. And then sort of, I suppose, like the heartbreak set in, and that was like the kind of catalyst to where my mental health started to take a real dip. And it was like I was probably in a state of pretty deep anxiety and a pretty bad place from the age of probably, I'd say maybe like 20, 22, 23 to maybe like 27, 26, 27. So started training, and then it was a case of that happened, and it was like the only sort of thing that gave me any sort of focus with my brain. I don't know if, like, again, for anybody who's watching this will understand, like, if you've had anxiety and stuff like that before, you'll find that your thoughts just constantly race, so there's no really one thing that you can focus on. At first I kind of thought it was just the breakup, and at the time when I went through a bad breakup, but after I got over the sort of breakup and the that sort of side of things, I still felt like that, and I was feeling that when I was waking up in the morning, and when I was going to bed it was like the worst thing on the planet of Earth. I was going to sleep, but it was like I couldn't focus on anything else. It was just like my thoughts were just like so fleeting. And then I suppose the only time that I kind of that disappeared was when I was in the gym, and that was like, it, as cliche as it sounds, it kind of saved my life, I suppose. And it was like once I was going through everything else as a joiner, like that enjoyment started to whittle away from being a joiner. My ambitions in life, I suppose, started to change a little bit, and I was like, there must be more to life than this, because I was questioning a lot of things. Like I was questioning like who I was as a person, questioning who I was, like my identity, I suppose, after like a breakup, and the way my thoughts were. I was kind of beating myself up quite a lot just because of, I'm like, why am I feeling like this? I must be like a wee weirdo here. Like there must be something more to this. I need more sort of out of life. And I started questioning, going, right, what do I do? And I think every day in my van, sat in my van for every day for about 2 years thinking, right, what can I do? What sort of idea can I come up with? What sort of thing can I do to get me out of this sort of van and be able to make a bit more money and do something for myself? And then it was like, right, I started to think, well, you know, fitness seems to be something that's on the up. Like I fell in love with training. I fell in love with watching YouTube. I fell in love with like how much that training helped me from a mental standpoint, and also seeing the physical benefits from it, but just in terms of like actually pulling me out of that hole more often and filling my mind with much more positive people, from like Christian Guzman, the Hodge twins, your whole like Jeff Nippard, RP Strength, all that sort of stuff. Like watching that from a pretty, I suppose, young age, and like just that's all I watched, and it was all about like positivity and like really learning about the body and how things work within your body, nutrition, training, how it can affect up here. Because I was like, right, well, if these are the things that I have control over, that I can do physically, and I can fix, like that helps me control that, then that's what I want to do. Yeah. And then I fell in love with that, and I suppose it was like, right, that was a little bit of a light bulb moment. I was like, this is I quite enjoy this. I love this thing. I'm actually quite knowledgeable when I look at other PTs and stuff like that, and not to sound cocky, I was kind of like, I know more than this guy, and like they're doing fucking pretty well for themselves, and they're doing something that I absolutely love, and I'm pounding myself into the ground with being a joiner, and I hate it. So I suppose that was a light bulb moment, and it was that's where I was like, right, there could be something here.
Like, would you say that was your kind of turning point? Because not a lot of the time where there doesn't always have to be a turning point. Like, it can be a kind of gradual process, but when you actually started to learn that the gym was something that you absolutely loved, that was when things started to become a little bit more clear to you that that's what you wanted to do.
I would definitely say so. As I said, I think it was more of how it made me feel, and like the understanding of like, this actually changes your mind. Like, not only are you doing something for, like, with your hands and physically, it actually changes like the chemical balances in your brain to make me feel better. And I was like, right, well, if I'm surrounding myself with these people, and I've got this sort of knowledge, and I've kind of built this up, and I can make myself feel like this, and it made me feel much better, then I would love to be able to do that for somebody else. Because at that point, when I was at like probably my lowest with my mental health, I was like, it was hard, man. It was like really, really hard, and like really bad times of like crying in front of my mother and stuff like that, and like breaking down, having panic attacks, and just really, really, really bad places to be, that again you probably will never really understand until you've experienced that, and you kind of feel it. And again, a young guy, you feel a little bit lost and being like, why is this happening? Because I've got everything. I had a great upbringing. I've got my health. I've got a stable job. I train. I feel good. I feel like I look good. Like I had great friends. I had plenty of enough money in the bank to. I'm no skint or anything like that. I was quite well versed with money. I was never in trouble or anything like that. And I was like, why do I feel like this? Like, why does this? Why are these things continuing to happen? And it's like, that's the thing where I really loved about the gym. And I was like, if I can do this for somebody else just once, then my job would be done. And I was like, that's what I need to lean into.
Totally. So see, when you were kind of going through that period of not enjoying joinery, it takes a lot of awareness to like kind of ask yourself that question. Would you say like your full life you've always been someone that's been super aware of their kind of surroundings and things like that, or did you learn that through not enjoying the particular job that you were doing?
I learnt that through probably the hardships that I had. I'd say that before I was kind of confronted with anxiety and maybe a bit of depression. I don't really know. I was not really clinically diagnosed with what it is. I just knew that's what was going on. But before that, the best way to describe it was like I suppose I went through life with like blinkers on. So it was like everything was like kind of here, and it was just like, it's cool. I got up, go to work. Nothing's really that serious. Like a party, do whatever. Like fucking you do whatever you want to do.
That's what you're meant to do.
Well, it's just that. It's just general. Just as what it is. You live with your mum, cool. You're up to 3. Like there's not. You don't really care about like, I need to get to bed for this time, or there's no real routine or anything like that.
Totally.
But it wasn't until that happened, and it was almost like somebody ripped the blinkers off, and I was like, holy shit! Like what is all this stuff? And I suppose that's where a lot of things became, where I was really like zoned in on so many different thoughts, and I was like, and I started to be like, oh, what about this person's thought? I'm thinking about me, and what are they thinking about me? Well, why am I feeling this way? Why are they not thinking that way?
Yeah, like overanalyzing
overanalyzed every situation, and I suppose it's like thinking about that and being aware. It was like the first point was like I had to accept that I was going through something and be aware that the fact that something's happening, rather than being like, I don't know what this is, I'm just going to bury my head in the sand. Or again, luckily didn't go and turn to a shitload of drugs or a shitload of alcohol. I mean, I tried that a little bit, but it was never anything that really served me any purpose. I was always somebody that's kind of like, this is making me feel worse, what the fuck am I doing?
Yep.
And it's like, as I said, once I became a little bit more aware of like what I was going through, it was more a case of like, right, I start to put more awareness to other things and can move through that a little bit more.
100%.
I think that awareness thing is massive, because like I know I've spoke to so many different people who had that same problem, probably sitting in a van, like thinking, what am I actually doing? Like getting steaming at the weekends, I'm doing this, and a lot of people will turn to the more negative side and like push on that, but you found something that you loved. Do you think it was because you found something that you were like it was a purpose for you, and you pushed more in towards that? Because it sounds like that it was hugely like purposeful, and that's kind of how you diverted into
I suppose in a way kind of a little bit, but I don't believe anybody who's ever struggled with anxiety or anything like that, or struggling with their mental health, there's never any like one thing that just goes that one day you wake up and you go, that's it, that's me done, I'm cool. It's like there's years of like growth there, and there's years of like, right, this makes more sense. And the more you're kind of with those thoughts, the better that you get at handling it, but also because of the direction that you're kind of going in, I suppose, in life. Like at that time, I knew that I loved coaching people and like, I wanted to help people, but at the time I didn't know like that's going to fix me. I just knew that was like, I'm really good at this, and I'm like, this kind of solves one of those problems that I already know that I already have. Like I don't like being in the job that I'm in, so even if I can solve one of those problems, it might help me mentally. Didn't know that that's going to be the thing that's going to be able to fix me. I didn't know at that point of like purpose and fulfillment and I didn't know that at the time. So it was like, I was like, cool, I'll try to solve one problem at a time. And
100%.
even at that, like when I was still going through that, I got my qualification and stuff, all that sort of stuff. I was working like a madman. I think I actually became qualified as a personal trainer at 26. I made 25, 26. It was just when I got my first flat, and at that time I was working in my flat. The weekends I wasn't at my PT course, it was like a rolling every second weekend type thing. And I got my qualification, I sat with it for another year because I didn't know what the hell to do with it. I was like, right, what do I do now? So it was like I was still in that mindset, and I was like definitely feeling better, but I was still doing way more things that wasn't making me feel better. Like I was probably surrounded with the wrong people. I was still going out partying all the week, like every weekend. It was like taking drugs and stuff like that. Like you're just going mad, like any sort of younger guy does, and all these things just don't really help the situation in a way. But as I said, there was times where I felt better. There was times I felt really, really fucking down, and then I suppose once I started getting into PT and actually coaching a bit more frequently, surround myself with the right people, things started to get a little bit better, and it's like you start building on that, I suppose.
Yeah, because it never truly does leave you. I feel like you kind of, as the years go on, you kind of gain that experience on how to kind of like manage it a little bit better, and it just seems a little bit lighter on your shoulders, I find. But yeah, for sure, totally
agree. I think with that, and again, like touching the point of mental health, like I still get waves of anxiety like any normal person does, but it's like I know that if I do get it, it's like I don't panic on it anymore. Like if I get a feeling of like, all right, I can notice it. I've been with it for a long time. It's that old kind of foe that I know. That I'm like, right, okay, I know what's happening here, and it's like I know how to manage it. I know the things that I need to kind of do for me personally, that work for me personally. Yeah. Again, every single person's completely different, and it's like I know the sort of direction. And like, cool, I either need to sit with this for a little, or I need to go and just change my state a little bit, or I need to do something that I know that's going to shift that sort of me away from that mindset.
What would you say are the particular things that help you get from that bad mindset to the better mindset?
Depends sometimes, I suppose, like depends the situation and what it is. Sometimes I kind of just need to sit with something for a bit and just kind of let myself feel the feeling, I suppose, and just kind of be with it. And again, it's something that I've learned a lot is just to accept it. And it's like you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days. And I think it's probably the biggest thing that I'll take away from that is like it's not always going to be amazing. Like that's not the way life is. And again, the culture that we have in this world right now is like, well, everybody's recording everything they do, and it's like I'm going to make this the most highlighted version of myself, and because it's on your phone, you think that's real life, and you compare yourself to that, where in actual fact that's not real life. And if you were to ask your grandfather way back when, and he was fucking pissed off or he was just a bit upset one day, you're like, oh, you've got anxiety, you're well, it's like, nah, I'm just having a bad day.
Yeah.
Like it's alright to have a bad day. Do you know what I mean? And I think like it's one of these things that happens to everybody. You're going to feel overwhelmed. You're going to feel anxious. You're going to feel sad. You're going to feel angry. Like you just sometimes have to sit with it. Or for me, it's like the one thing that comes to mind. It's like, right, I need to change my state. It was actually David Hatt said that to me. He's like, change your state. So whatever I'm doing right now, it's an indication that something's no fulfilling me, or something's kind of, it's triggering me in a way that's not serving me. So I'm like, right, unless it's something external, of course, but if it's just something that's happening and it's just like overwhelm, or there's just stuff that is happening in life, like there's an element of control that's always there, and it's about your choice that you have, that you can try and make that decision to choose what it is that you're doing and change that state. Everybody's got a choice. You can either sit with it, or you can feel sorry for yourself and play the victim, or you can go, right, let me change my state. Overwhelm, right, cool, let me brain dump here and just write my thoughts out. Let me try and figure out a way that I can take action. And I think there's a quote that goes around, is like, action beats anxiety every single time. So
yeah, action's the antidote.
Amazing. I relate to a lot of that as well in terms of acceptance. I think it's a huge thing. It's something I learned with my mental performance coach, and I feel like it's something that's not highlighted enough. So yeah, I want to go from where you were at then, so like just stepping into the fitness industry and the growth you've had over the last, what's that, 7-8 years?
7 years, coming to 8.
7 years as a coach, like
crazy.
Yeah. So I've been coaching about between 4 and 5 years now, and I knew you right from the start because I followed MTN, the brand, and I've seen you grow like over that 4 years, and looked up to you to a certain extent as well. You and MTN a lot. But you've had massive growth in that time. What do you think has been the catalyst to your growth within that time?
The main thing for me is just like always be willing to learn. Generally, it's like that's the one thing that I suppose that felt like I had a bit of a superpower over a lot of different people, especially people in this industry. A lot of people in this industry have massive egos, huge egos, and they come in and they kind of feel a little bit entitled, whereas I came from a place of like absolute nothing. I knew that I was completely new, and all I wanted to do was learn. And I was like, I don't care how stupid I may look. I am here. I want to do everything I possibly can to get in the room with the best people, to be able to be like, right, show me, tell me what to do, show me what I can do here. And it's like no ego, just went away and done it, and I tried, and I just kept on working hard at it. I think like that for me has probably been the biggest thing, and I still am that way. I feel like I definitely don't know the answers to everything, but it's always a willingness to grow and not have that ego, and just make sure, and again, always be curious. And it's like being curious of like, what does that look like? How can I adapt that? How can I get better? How can I improve and just move myself forward in everything that I'm doing?
Yeah, amazing. And that as well, like your journey from just going into the fitness industry to now own like co-running Sin with Ryan, it's like that's a big journey, and now this is a big business that's growing and it impacts hundreds of people, and going to impact more than that. Can you take us through the kind of process from you just joining us, just starting in the fitness industry, to MTN and then into Sin?
So kind of started with like reaching. I seemed like I used to train the same gym as David Tat actually, and I was like, I kind of want what that guy's got. What does he do? And I was like, and I think I started following David on Instagram, or I think it was maybe even Facebook at the time. I can't quite remember. But I just kind of, same thing, like no ego, just kind of reached out and asked him for help. I says, I absolutely love what you do. Like, any sort of advice that you can give me. And I think he just moved to Dubai at the time. So he kind of built his one-to-one brand and personal training brand up. And he also then started taking online clients while he was over in Dubai. And he was just kind of giving me advice on like how I can get set up for a one-to-one business, like teaching me the things, just simple, like the other things that doesn't even require coaching, like about systemising things of like, what's your consultation form looking like, how are you taking people on board, what is your waiting list looking like, how are you marketing yourself, like, and he kind of just gave me a few tasks to go away and do, and I'd be like, cool, next, and then I kind of built a relationship with him, and I almost kind of felt like I had a point to prove with him, to be like, I know this guy's got something to offer here. And then I think like David introduced me to a few other people as well. He introduced me to Chris Burns, which is the marketing for marketer now for David, main copywriter and stuff like that. But at the time, Chris Burns was a PT, and he was a strength and performance coach and stuff like that as well. So, and a very, very, very knowledgeable coach. So again, like leaning into something a little bit different. David was more body composition and online, and Chris was more in the realms of like athletic performance and strength and conditioning and stuff like that. And I was surrounding myself with him, and he taught me a hell of a lot, but also teaching me a lot of other things about mindset and how I can be better at actually getting people on board, and a consultation form and like a blueprint and stuff like that. I've actually still got the blueprint that Chris gave me. So it's like all these people, like it's just generally surrounding myself with the right people. And then the opportunity came up from David. He kind of seen that I was doing quite well, and he was like, you're marketing yourself very well and doing X, Y, and Z. And he's like, I think I might have an opportunity coming up. Why don't we get a catch up when we come back? And he came back to Glasgow. We'd done a training session. He kind of told me a little bit about helping him manage more of his online clients. And that's kind of, I suppose, where the spark of the birth of like the online coaching, which is now MTN, started. It was me and another coach, Ryan, not Ryan Holmes, but it was like both of us were kind of under his wing, I suppose, and he taught us like a hell of a lot more about what actually works when it comes to fat loss, what like the simple ways of doing it is, like rather than it being overcomplicated. And at this time I was still building, like I was doing a little bit of that, but I was already built up a few one-to-one clients at that time as well, and I was working with anybody that I could, from young guys who were in athletics, from older women to young, again, middle-aged men and middle-aged women as well, fat loss, strength goals, like athletic-based goals, things like that. So I was kind of trying to add as many strings to my bow as I possibly could at the time, and just being like, I'm not going to niche down. I just want to be able to like know that I'm capable for anybody and be able to work with anyone. So anyway, building that up, and then got in with David, and he was teaching me more, and I started managing some of his online clients, and it was like the three of us were kind of managing his, and at the time it was like intakes, so it was like every 12 weeks we do like an intake, every 12 weeks do an intake and try and push for results after the 12 weeks and so on and so forth, and that's, I suppose, where the birth of MTN became. And it's like once that happened, that started to grow in arms and legs, and as I said, like I owe a hell of a lot to David, and with that came marketing skills that I developed, of business skills that I developed, of reaching out to people's like and actually like speaking to them in a proper way, and sales techniques and things like that. So everything in the outside of coaching that was also learning alongside with David as well. And again, like just trying to become the best coach that I possibly could be. Built up my 1-to-1 service, got full with that. I was working crazy hours. And then again doing the same way online, working with David online, and then MTM was born, and it was kind of went from strength to strength there, and it's like got full with 1-to-1 PT, scaled 1-to-1 PT back, done more online, and then I suppose, cut a long story short, I met Ryan. Ryan came on board to MTN during like lockdown. I think it was lockdown he came on. But before that, it was like we're still part of MTN before I met him. Like obviously the world shut down and I was like shit. And the great thing is, like at the time I was only really in, like I think I was only in the business maybe like self-employed by like 2 years or something like that. I had a year kind of working both my old job plus doing 1-to-1 PT and done all that, but actual self-employment was 2 years, and at the time I couldn't get any help from the government because it was like you didn't have grants and stuff like that. So I was lucky enough that I had a decent enough online presence to be able to go and do Zoom classes. Don't know if you ever used to ever do any of them. No, it was like it was the weirdest time in the planet of Earth, man. It was so weird. It was so weird. You're probably still in school. Probably still in school. But it was like the first lockdown, man. I remember that so mad. It was like built up of my Zoom online sort of like community, man. But it was quite cool. Like I think that ended up like I was making a decent enough money to be able to keep a roof over my head and that anyway, and I was working like 3 days a week anyway. I think it was the second lockdown that happened. I kind of met Ryan, and then and we just kind of got on like house and fire, and we shared a lot of the same values, and me and him both are very, very big on like movement quality, and we loved the anatomy and how people moved and how you can kind of change things to get better at moving and stuff like that. So we were always kind of shooting the shit, I suppose, about like what works, what doesn't work. Well, I don't agree with that. I think that would work better. And right, cool, that's interesting. Like just having really cool discussions and trained a lot and just shared a lot of the same values, I suppose. And then we kind of came up with the idea of like, why don't we do something together? And I think it was going to be like a seminar type thing at first. And I'm like, nah, fuck that. Let's do something a bit more exciting. It was like, and it started with a boot camp type thing. So a big 30 person boot camp but we were trying to do like SGPT wasn't like small group personal training wasn't a thing then. It was like we're trying to put that into like a big group setting almost. It's like cool, we'll get people squatting, we'll get people deadlifting, we'll get people hip thrusting, and we'll try and coach the shit out of that. It's like we're just moving through a rapid pace. We were in commando at the time, and we kind of grew that community really well, and it was like just two like nights a week, like 2 hours a week. It was a Tuesday and a Thursday night, and it's like people would just pay for the Tuesday and Thursday night. Then it was like Tuesday and Thursday night, 4 hours. And then it kind of got better and better, and then it was like right, lockdown happened again, and you weren't allowed to train inside the gyms, and we're like, fuck, what are we doing here? And it was like we took the online platform that I already done with the Zoom and kind of just changed that over to what we call now Sin. And it was like at that time we started going like, we need a name. Strength in Numbers was quite cool.
How did that?
David Hatt, actually.
David
Hatt. He can take the credit. I'll take the credit for naming MT.
You wanted to get that in, didn't you?
But he actually gave us an idea for the name, and I was like, that's class. And we ran with that, and it was a boot camp, so it was like we'd done the online thing again, the whole sort of Zoom thing, mad time, and then we're allowed to train outside again. We're like, oh yes, amazing. We bought this old kit off Ross for Commando, guy who owns Commando. Like bought this old fucking kettlebells and dumbbells and ropes, and I had like and just mad shit for like 250 quid. And me and Ryan used to PT 1-to-1, and like and still keeping the Tuesday and Thursday evenings. We'd PT Tuesday, Thursday evening till like I think it was like 6 o'clock. And then we would hump all this kit into the backyard vans, and we eventually found a place at Bella Park a place in Bella Park, and we used to go and do that there, and it'd be like pissing a rain. Like, I'm talking about, you'd be driving there and like Ryan's car, bottom of his car would be like scraping along the ground because all the kit would be in it, about 200 kilo worth of kit, and it'd be pissing rain. We're like, oh my god, man, hopefully it turns up so I don't need to go in this pissing rain, man. And then it was like at Dunbrec Court, man. It was like, we're running around the pissing rain, bogging, like just humping all this kit up, and it was just like a outdoor boot camp. But people showed up, and it was pissing rain, people still showed up, and it was like, and we kept going. I think that was always the idea. I think it's like we kind of always believed in the vision that we had, and it was like, we just need to keep this going, because it would have been so easy for us to just be like, do you know what, it's lockdown, let's just patch this, like we'll just do whatever. But like, nah, we'll keep this, because we've got a good community here. Like, people came, people loved it. I was like, let's just keep building this community. At this time it was like 40 people. Like, just keep this going, and we had a list of 40 people that kept coming back, and then we kind of kept the boot camp going. That get busier, demand get better, and then it was like, we kind of need to change this a little bit. Don't really want to, like, we're about results. We don't, like, nobody's going to do results. They'll get results here. We want to get people stronger in that. And we kind of reshaped it again. We sat down and going, like, what can we do here? Like, let's figure out how we're going to be able to do this, and let's maybe look at changing the sort of model of this, rather than just getting as many people into 1 hour as we can. Let's break it in and break it down into, like, we'll cap it to 12 people per session, and we'll do like a 1-to-6 ratio, but it means we can then structure it more like a 1-to-1 PT session. And at that time we were allowed to go back into commando, and commando thankfully gave us, like, it was a gazebo outside at first, and then it went from that to like a outdoor type shed, and that's where we kind of really built the business. It was like started building Sin up, and that really started gaining traction. We could really get hands-on coaching, and that's where I suppose like SGPT was kind of born at that time, is when people were kind of doing those sort of things. And it just kind of grew arms and legs from there. We just kept on trying to improve the service, check-ins, and built it from there. Just me and Ryan working PT 1-to-1, and then it was going 2 evenings, 3 evenings, 3 hours in the evening. Then we started going, right, let's just do this in the morning. So we scaled back 1-to-1 and done in the morning. But then we would do like 6 a.m. and then PT, and then another time at 10 a.m. and then like cool, switch them out. So it was like we just kind of whittled away, and we eventually got full Tuesday, Thursday. Then we started going Tuesday, and it was like in groups. It was a Tuesday, Thursday group. Then we added Monday and Friday groups, so you could only buy a Monday and a Friday package or a Tuesday and Thursday package at that specific time. So you could only ever come at those specific days and on those specific times. And we built all that, and then we just kind of built it to what it is today, I suppose. And then made a lot of changes when we got here. So that was a ramble.
A ramble, but I think there's like 10, 15 lessons within that. One that I want to focus on in particular is like it's almost like you were just trying shit and seeing what works. It's like the quote I always remember is jumping out the airplane and finding your wings on the way down. Like, I think that's such an important trait to have, and it sounds like exactly what you've done with Sin in particular. Sin has now grown to what it is now. It's full at the moment. It's got a waiting list now, and I want to know what does Sin actually mean to you?
It's a great question. What does it mean to me? I suppose a lot of it's part of my identity, I suppose, in a way. It's like I've put everything into this. So it's like everything that we do from a value standpoint is part of who I am as a person. It's the culture that I surround myself with. It's the people that I care about. It's like who I am, in a sense. And it's like what we bring in here is like what I want to share with everybody. And it's as I said, the values, the sort of care, the curiosity, that whole pursuit of like always trying to chase something that little bit more, and just try to do better every day. Like show up. That's the only thing you need to do. Show up every day. Turn up tomorrow and just go. I suppose it's I don't know how to answer that really. It's like what it means to me is it is me. It is me, really, and it's Ryan, it's you guys. It's like it's just part of who I am as a person. It's something that I care incredibly deeply about, because I put everything that I possibly can to make this the best experience to work for myself, for you guys, and also for every single person that comes in here. It's just that level. I just genuinely love helping people, and it's like I'll actually stand back and I'll look at this now and what it is, and it's like I get such a sense of pride and feel so proud of where we're at, and it's like I probably don't do it enough, but it's like recently over the last couple of weeks, again since you guys have came involved and stuff like that, it's like it fills me with so much pride and joy and fulfillment, and just feel proud of where this is at right now.
Totally, 100%. I think that it's all of us. We're all kind of on the same page when it comes to sin. And I just wanted to ask you one of the kind of last questions. Where do you see sin going in the future?
Hell, baby.
Hell, baby. Head down. Right down there.
No, where do I see it going? I always struggle with these things, I suppose. I've got a vision, of course. I think like I want to have multiple sites. I think me, Ryan, and the rest of us are all kind of in a line with that. I think we want to be able to have as like multiple site gyms. I just want to be able to help as many people as I can. And I think the way that we do things, the level of care, the culture that we create, the values that we have, generally can help so many people. And I just want that to be the thing. And I want it to be the standard for coaches as well. I want people to understand that this coaching game isn't just a case of like, I'm just going to do that to get a wee bit of dough and just make a wee bit of money in that. There's absolute levels to this, and you have to be in this game for the right reasons, or you will sink. It's just a race to the bottom for a lot of people. And for me, it's like there's so much that goes into coaching in terms of the responsibility that you have for people, the fact how much people look at you from an inspiration standpoint, and it's your duty as a coach to get the best out of that person. It's not just a case of they're just shite. They're shite because you can't get the best out of them. That's it. And it's the biggest thing for me. It's like when it comes to coaching, I want us to be setting the standard for that. I want us to be setting the standard for the values of what people should be holding when it comes to coaching, and I say just try to help as many people as we can. I think that's by just getting this thing that we have here in these four walls out there as much as we possibly can.
Have you always had that belief in the place, or like, if not, when was a kind of specific time that it came to you that you like truly believed that you could build this to the very top? Was there a particular time, or did you always feel like even back in the kind of boot camp days, did you always feel like you could kind of build it to something a lot more special than just a
I've always been a very aspirational guy, I suppose. I've always kind of thought that I'd after going from I suppose nothing to doing something from like an online standpoint, and it's like that self-belief doesn't just happen overnight. In a way, in my eyes, I feel like you have to stack the evidence against yourself. Like you can't just be like, I think a lot of people are like, I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm like, you just sound like an arrogant dick. Just like you don't know a fucking thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's cool, you've got ambitions and stuff like that, but like earn your stripes, earn your seat at the table first. And it's like, if you do that, then you can figure out what's next and what's next after that. And I feel like I've definitely always got that thing. And I think for me, if I've always had that bit of hunger to always learn and do more, I don't see why you can, like, the sky's the limit. Do you know what I mean? And I think like for when I was doing online coaching and earning my stripes and just I started to stack evidence against like, I'm actually really fucking good at this. And I think like when things change, like I would never thought I would have left MTN and done that, and I never thought it would have been here, but we're here. And it's like things just happen because opportunities start to arise, and you go, this can work, and another opportunity arises. And I think we're at a position now where there's that much evidence being stacked. There's opportunities that I can now start to see further down the line that I can go, that's not out of reach, and I can start to see the like we've built the base level now, and it's now just ready to go and start building.
Totally.
Amazing. I felt like I learned like 10 different things I never even knew about you during that conversation there. I thank you so much for coming on the pod.
Appreciate it, man.
Really appreciate
Ryan's raging that he's not been on. He's not on first. He is.
When we've not got a guest, when we've not got a guest, then we'll think about bringing him in.
He's not as interesting as me. That's fine. He's going to be stuck now because I've said all the good shit. I've said all the pure juicy stuff. He'd be like, listen, bro, Dale's already said that. He'd be like, fuck.
Go, let's wrap that up there.
Right, love it. Cheers, lads. Thank you. Well done. Can I say also, just before we go, I think it's cool as fuck what you guys are doing here, and it's like it's inspirational. It's in itself. Like, you're thinking on your feet, and this place has been 10 times better, and gonna give us the base that we need to be able to move this thing forward. So I'm proud of both of you. I think it's absolutely top class what you're doing here, and just keep fucking doing your thing. It's class.
Appreciate that, bro. Thank you. Here without you, bro. Let's go.